So, Unrivaled has been putrid this year. The league that co-founder Nafisia Collier, brave, stunning, and courageously called sustainable, has looked anything but sustainable. Anything but. And the Angel Reese return ratings are in.
Look at that excitement. Angel Reese saves Unrivaled. Ratings are about to skyrocket. The league is saved. That's what we were told anyway. But here's the thing about hype versus reality. The numbers don't lie. And when those Angel Reese return ratings finally came in, let's just say the truth was a lot uglier than anyone wanted to admit.
That beat Unrivaled in the cable ratings in one of the games? Woo! Wow. One of the games is, both of them not good. Angel Reese's Unrivaled debut versus The Hive brought in 130,000 viewers. This is the game where Angel Reese came back. I did a video the other day, and she got completely cooked by Kelsey Mitchell at the end of the game with the game winner. Got her ankles broken clean off, snapped them off, and flopping around on the floor. And Kelsey just drove by her like she wasn't even there, hit the game winner, and went home.
130,000 viewers. That's what Angel Reese's triumphant return pulled in. Her debut game against The Hive. The one where Kelsey Mitchell absolutely cooked her at the buzzer, snapped her ankles clean off and hit the game winner. That massive moment drew 130,000 people. Now, if you don't follow television ratings, that number might not mean much to you yet. But trust me, we're about to put it in context. And when you see what Unrivaled is actually competing against on cable, it gets embarrassing fast.
0.04 in the 18 to 49 cherished ad demographic. This is basically the one that determines whether or not you stay on the air. I don't know if you're looking at this, but yeah. As you go down the list, you notice the last two on here, right? So 40,000 people in the ad demographic tuned in for Angel Reese's return. 130,000 people altogether, a 0.13. And then the Phantom and Laces got a 0.03, 30,000 viewers in the cherished ad demographic. And 110,000 fans tuned in to that game. That you will have to forgive me because I got no idea who plays on those teams.
0.04 in the 18 to 49 demographic. That's the number advertisers actually care about, the one that determines whether you stay on the air or get canceled. 40,000 people in that key demo tuned in for Angel Reese's return. The second game that night, Phantom vs. Laces, pulled even worse numbers. 0.03, 30,000 viewers in the ad demographic. 110,000 total viewers. And here's what makes this particularly brutal. He's right about not knowing who plays on those teams. Because at this point, does it even matter?
Friday ratings. And boy, I like this tool. I like this tool because I can actually see every single program that was on cable. Every single one. Now, that Phantom versus Laces game, do you see this? By the way, you see this? This is the end of the list. All right, this is the end of the list. That Phantom Laces game was second to the least watched program on cable for Friday night. The second to last.
So, here's where it gets interesting. There's this website called Programming Insider that tracks every single program on cable television, ranked by viewership. Every single one. And when you actually look at where Unrivaled landed on that list for Friday night, that Phantom vs. Laces game came in second to last. The second to last watched program on all of cable television. The only thing it beat was a BET Movie of the Week. Let that sink in for a second. A brand new basketball league backed by major investors broadcast on TNT Sports featuring some of the biggest names in women's basketball, and it's losing to everything.
The only thing they beat was the BET Movie of the Week. Damn. Damn. They got run out by reruns of Reba. Yeah. Reruns of Reba. Up here, this is the Angel Reese game. I can tell you right now, it actually got 133,000 viewers exactly for that game. And actually, that other game,
Reruns of Reba. That's not a joke. Decade-old episodes of a sitcom that ended in 2007 pulled more viewers than Angel Reese's return to professional basketball. River Monsters, and yes, those are also reruns from like 10 years ago, beat Unrivaled. Jeremy Wade catching catfish and stingrays is more compelling television than watching elite women's basketball players compete for a championship. The Big Bang Theory reruns? Not even close. Friends? Forget about it. The Office? Don't even get me started.
not even close. Reruns of Family Guy. I mean, man, boy. Whew. And then you start moving up. It's not even funny. They're getting crushed by like the Big Bang Theory, reruns of Friends, The Office. I mean, you can forget shit. You want to get into HGTV, you forget about it. You're talking about shows that got almost 1 million views now. House Hunters is still getting over 500,000. I mean, it's just Alaskan State Troopers, folks. 384,000 viewers. Unrivaled's getting crushed. Unrivaled's baby.
But here's where the comparison really stings. HGTV programming is pulling in 500,000 to nearly 1 million viewers for shows about buying and renovating houses. House Hunters, a show that's been on the air for decades with the exact same format every single episode, drew over 500,000 viewers that same night. Alaska State Troopers pulled 384,000, a rerun of Everybody Loves Raymond on TV Land. A show from the 1990s drew 428,000 viewers. That's almost 300,000 more people than watched Angel Reese's return.
Everybody. By everybody. Seriously. It's crazy. A rerun on TV Land of Everybody Loves Raymond drew 428,000 viewers and beat Angel Reese's return by 250,000 viewers. Almost 300,000 viewers. I love that. I love that new website. I don't even know if it's new, but I stumbled across it. Now we can actually compare and contrast versus other shows. TNT, they can opt out after the end of next Unrivaled season. I don't think she'll ever play in it. Caitlin Clark. I don't think she'll ever play in Unrivaled.
Now here's the critical question that nobody wants to ask out loud. TNT Sports has an option to back out of their broadcast deal after next season. They can walk away, and based on these numbers, why wouldn't they? Unless they decide to opt back in purely for the optics, purely because that subsection of crazy lunatic women's basketball fans who treat this like a social cause instead of entertainment will absolutely attack them publicly if they cancel it. That's the calculation TNT has to make. Do we keep hemorrhaging money on a product nobody's watching, or do we face the Twitter mob?
How much of a full court press are they going to put on Caitlin Clark to play in that league before next season? I mean, I think that's the only way that TNT Sports agrees to opt back in, unless they choose to opt back in for the visual agenda of it all. Because you know what's going to happen. That subsection of crazy lunatic women's basketball fans that are actually watching because they think it's a social cause, that crazy nutty group is going to publicly attack TNT Sports if they decide to cancel it or opt out. And then who are you going to sell it to? Who's buying that? Who's giving you a new media rights deal on that?
And this brings us to the elephant in the room. The only name that could possibly save this league. The only player with the drawing power to make TNT reconsider. Caitlin Clark. How much pressure are they about to put on her to play in Unrivaled before next season, because that's the only card they have left to play. That's the only scenario where TNT might opt back in for another season. But here's what I think, and I've said this before. I don't think she'll ever play in that league. I genuinely don't. And without her, who's buying a new media rights deal for this? Who's lining up to pay for programming that loses to Reba reruns?
I still don't think she'll ever play in that league. Tell me what you think. Angel Reese cannot beat the likes of Everybody Loves Raymond, shows from 20 years ago. Peace. I'm out. Till next time.
Thanks for watching the show. Be sure to like.
So let's talk about what sustainable actually means, because Nafisa Collier called this league sustainable. She used that word specifically: brave, stunning, and sustainable. Well, if losing to 20-year-old sitcom reruns is sustainable, then sure, I guess the league is doing great. But in the real world, where television networks need to justify their investments to shareholders and advertisers need to reach actual human beings who might buy their products, these numbers are a disaster, an absolute unmitigated disaster. Here's what sustainability requires in professional sports. You need a fan base that will consistently tune in regardless of who's playing. You need storylines that resonate beyond just the hardcore fans. You need stars that casual viewers actually want to watch. And most importantly, you need to be competitive with other programming options. When people are choosing between your basketball game and a River Monsters rerun, and they're picking the catfish, you don't have a sustainable product. You have a vanity project that's bleeding money. The comparison to other women's sports is instructive here. Women's college basketball, particularly games featuring certain star players, can pull millions of viewers. The WNBA itself, despite all its challenges, regularly outdrew Unrivaled's best numbers this season. So the audience exists. Women's basketball has proven it can attract viewers when the product and the stars align correctly. But Unrivaled isn't connecting. The format isn't working. The marketing isn't working. The star power isn't enough. And that's the most damning part of this whole situation. Angel Reese is a legitimate star. She's got name recognition, a massive social media following, and she's been one of the most talked about players in women's basketball for the past 2 years. If her return can only pull 130,000 viewers, what does that tell you about the league's viability? It tells you that star power alone isn't enough. It tells you that the casual fan who might tune in for a WNBA game isn't interested in this format. It tells you that Unrivaled is competing in an entertainment landscape where it simply doesn't stand out. Think about what TNT Sports is looking at right now. They've invested money in production, broadcast rights, promotion. They've given this league prime real estate on their network. And in return, they're getting ratings that would get most shows canceled after one episode. The only reason Unrivaled is still on the air is because someone already paid for the full season. But when that contract comes up for renewal, when TNT has to decide whether to commit more money to this, the numbers tell them everything they need to know. Now, could Caitlin Clark change that equation? Possibly. She's the one player in women's basketball right now who consistently moves the needle on television ratings. Her college games broke records. Her WNBA games significantly outperformed expectations. If there's anyone who could make Unrivaled appointment viewing, it's her. But here's the problem with that strategy. It puts all your eggs in one basket. It means your entire league's viability depends on convincing one player to participate. And if she says no, which I think she will, then what? You're right back to losing to Everybody Loves Raymond. The broader question is what this means for women's basketball as a business. Because Unrivaled was supposed to prove that there's untapped demand, that players don't need to go overseas for money, that a well-funded domestic league could thrive. Instead, it's proving the opposite. It's showing that even with significant investment, even with legitimate stars, even with a major network's backing, you can still fail to find an audience. That's a sobering lesson for anyone thinking about launching similar ventures. And let's address the elephant in the room about media coverage. How much of the hype around Unrivaled was genuine enthusiasm versus performative support? How many media members were talking up this league because they genuinely believed in it versus because they felt obligated to support women's sports regardless of quality? Because when the ratings came in this bad, where were all those voices? Where were all the think pieces about why everyone needs to tune in? The silence is deafening. Here's what happens next. Unrivaled finishes this season. And then the real negotiations begin. TNT decides whether to exercise their opt-out clause. The league's founders scramble to either land Caitlin Clark or find another network willing to take a chance. Sponsors look at these numbers and decide whether their investment is worth it. And players have to decide whether competing in this league is worth their time when they could be resting or playing overseas for potentially more money. The saddest part is that the concept isn't terrible. A condensed season, high-level competition, staying domestic instead of going overseas, these are all reasonable ideas. But execution matters. Marketing matters. And most importantly, creating a product that people actually want to watch matters. Unrivaled hasn't figured that out yet. And with ratings this catastrophic, they're running out of time to figure it out. So here's my question for you, and I want you to really think about this. If you were TNT Sports, would you renew this deal? Would you commit more money to a league that's losing to Reba reruns and River Monsters? Or would you cut your losses and move on? Because that's the decision they're facing right now, and based purely on the numbers, the answer seems pretty obvious. Let me know what you think in the comments. And if you made it this far, hit that like button and subscribe, because we're going to keep following this story as it develops. This is far from over.